Well, hello everybody. Hope you all had a great July 4th weekend. You had some time to relax, eat some food, hang out with family, watch some fireworks, all that fun stuff. It was a relaxing weekend for me. I got to sit around, watch a bunch of things like some Hitchcock movies, some of the Godzilla movies on the El Rey Network during their marathon this weekend. I also watched a couple wrestling shows, which I will review for you right here. One bad thing I did watch. I went to the movie theater and saw Terminator Genesis. That was something. Wow, it was really fucking bad. Don't go see it, and please let this franchise die. They should have stopped at 2. But what are you gonna do? Anyways, my first video of the week, and I've got some stuff to get through. Namely, the two big shows that happened over the weekend. WWE's Beast in the East, which I got up at 5:30 in the morning to watch. I actually got up. I was amazed because normally on a Saturday, that's when I catch up on my sleep, and getting me up early is kind of hard to do. But I was able to wake up right at 5:30 on the nose. So yeah, I watched it. It was great. Good times. Fun way to spend your July 4th morning. And I also watched New Japan's Dominion event. I didn't watch too much of Raw last night. I think I saw most of the big stuff. But I spent most of Monday night watching Dominion. I decided to watch most of that instead because I imagine, Raw, even if I only watch a little bit of Raw, I'm sure watching a truncated version of it would probably turn out better, and it did, actually. It actually was better to watch when I only saw, the last hour or so. Going into Raw, I'll get that out of the way first. The bit with Brock Lesnar tearing up the car was somewhat expected. I saw the clip where he threw the door into the stands and it hit a kid or whatever. Yeah, that's not good. While he was doing the whole bit, and he took a hatchet or an axe to the car and everything, I was like, man, Lesnar has a tendency to get a little over-exuberant, and I hope to God nothing bad happens. And sure enough, he ended up throwing the car door, or at least a part of the car door, into the crowd. From the sound of it, nobody was hurt. From what it sounded like, anyway, it sounded like the kid was okay. So, tragedy was averted. But, Lesnar, just tone it down, man. It's okay. I know you get into it, but you can reel it back and not throw shit. Because he had another incident where he threw a monitor into the crowd. That was a couple years ago, I think. So that happened. What else did I see on Raw? I did see the Cena-Cesaro match, which I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was as good as last week's match, and I don't think it's probably the weakest match that Cena and Cesaro have had together. I mean, they typically have really good matches together. I thought this one was their weakest, though, and I think, I don't know, Cena looked, maybe he was jet lagged because I got to imagine going from Tokyo all the way to wherever the hell this show was. I don't even know. Oh, it was in Chicago. That's right. Making that trip all in the span of 2 or 3 days, I mean, that couldn't have been fun. So maybe he was jet lagged or something, I don't know, but he seemed a little off in the match and seemed a little lethargic, and his spot calling was a little louder than normal. I mean, Cena's the loudest spot caller I've ever seen in the history of wrestling, but even by his standards, he was calling his spots a little loudly. But Cesaro looked really good in there, and they let him have a match. And of course, the finisher fest thing is kind of being played out. I mean, even kicking out of the AA doesn't feel like a big deal anymore. I just loved it when the commentators got all oh my God, he kicked out of the AA. And I'm like, dude, he did that last week. You called that match. What the fuck? Do you not have memories? Or they only have as much of a memory as Vince McMahon will allow. Which, by the way, Titus O'Neil on commentary running down the commentators, beautiful, hilarious, loved it. Titus O'Neil, not the best worker, but that dude has a personality, and whenever he goes off, it's always funny. So I appreciate Titus greatly, especially going off on a rant like that, because he basically said everything that we all wanted to say for years. But yeah, Cena Cesaro, it was a pretty good match. It wasn't one of my favorite matches or anything. I know a lot of people are really excited about it. I'm like, He's a little sloppy in points, and Cesaro looked like a beast as always. I mean, the dude's a physical specimen like nobody's business, and how Vince has been unable to find anything for him up to this point is just astounding to me. It really is amazing. Some people think that he's going to be made a star after this match and he's going to go on to be a main eventer. I wouldn't hold my breath. I mean, look at Dean Ambrose, look at Dolph Ziggler, look what happened to them last year. I mean, I thought Dean Ambrose was well on his way. It was like, oh my God, they've got it. He's going to make it. And then, they kind of pulled the plug on that. Dolph Ziggler, he gets that big win at Survivor Series. They do nothing with it. So I've kind of learned not to hold my breath or get too excited whenever it looks like somebody's going to get a big push. Don't be surprised. I mean, don't get heartbroken if Cesaro, comes and goes, and next week he's back to doing nothing, because that's, I don't know, that's an unfortunate habit, but it wouldn't kill him to inject some fresh life into the show and actually do something with the guy. But here's hoping. Hopefully they will, and we shall see. But that's enough about Raw. That's about all of Raw I watched anyway. But the two big shows, Beast in the East and New Japan's Dominion. Starting with Beast in the East, like I said, I got up at 5:30 in the morning to watch it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good show. I loved the new setting. I loved the new atmosphere. It felt like a different show from the WWE. The commentators, it was Cole and Byron Saxton, they were actually calling shit. So Vince clearly wasn't in their headset for this show. They were actually calling the fucking match, which definitely helps. And it was just an enjoyable show. It was just a different flavor and something. It was just a breath of fresh air. It was just something different, and I enjoyed it, and it was fun to watch. And just a thoroughly entertaining show for the most part. I'll get into that as we go along. But starting from the top, we got Chris Jericho versus Neville, which was a very interesting match to have. On paper, I was like, oh, they got Chris Jericho for this. That's pretty cool. I was shocked that he went over just because Jericho's a part-timer and Neville is like somebody that they're interested in using, or at least they seem like they're interested in using, so I was a little surprised that Jericho went over, but okay. Normally, I used to credit Jericho because he's normally a guy that doesn't go over when he shouldn't, and lately, I don't know, he had the match with Bray last year and he had this match with Neville where he's probably going over when he shouldn't, but it's possible that they gave him the win because he is such a big star in Japan and has a big following there, the whole Lionheart thing and all of that, and he had a whole career there and all of that jazz, but and other than that though, I thought it was a very good match. It was a very It was a very well-paced, like, kind of old-school typey match. Like, the matches that I used to watch as a kid where, there's great athletics, great wrestling and everything, but it's done at this very deliberate pace, and I really liked it. It was a very, very well-put-together match, and very exciting and very good, and Neville just looks amazing in there, and Jericho had probably the best match I've seen him have in a long time, probably since his matches with Punk, which I guess wasn't that long ago, but... it was a really good opener, hot opener, cool way to open up the show, and I really liked the match, so awesome. The Divas match, I actually missed most of it because I woke up at 5:30 on the nose. My plan was to get up at 5 and make myself breakfast and then watch the show, but I overslept by half an hour. So I took the Divas match as an opportunity to go make myself breakfast. I made bacon and eggs, scrambled eggs, that is, with a nice banana bread bagel, for those of you that care. And a cup of coffee, cream and 2 sugars. Nobody cares. But, so I missed most of the Divas match. It didn't sound bad from the other room. The crowd seemed to be reacting to it and stuff, but I missed most of it. I saw the finish. Nikki Bella won, which came as no surprise. Tamina was in the match, which, wasn't it supposed to be Naomi? I don't know. Nobody seems to care, so... Whatever, it was a filler match, and it allowed me an opportunity to go make breakfast, so that's cool. Then we got the Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston match, which went exactly how I pictured it would. When I saw that was the match that Lesnar was going to be in, I was like, man, Kofi gonna die. He's gonna die. It's gonna be a squash, and I was right. And Kofi Kingston just got obliterated by Brock Lesnar, and then the New Day ran in after the match to help him, and he threw them around and obliterated them, and I was completely fine with that. I thought it was fun. It's a good way to showcase Lesnar. Lesnar's one of the few guys in wrestling that they have believably booked as a monster. They keep saying Kane's a monster. They keep saying Big Show's a monster. They keep saying Mark Henry's a monster, but they lose all the time and they get beat up all the time. So are they really monsters? Right now it's Brock Lesnar and Mil Muertes and Lucha Underground, who are really like the only two legit monsters in in wrestling right now. And squash matches are valuable, and Lesnar, it's special because he doesn't wrestle all the time. This was his first match since WrestleMania, so just getting to see him is a big deal. And yeah, he just went out there, got the job done, killed some shit, and called it a day. And I really enjoyed watching it. So I was like, that was cool, that was fun, awesome. Very, very good. So, yeah, some people had a problem with it. It's like, oh, you don't book a squash on a big show or whatever. I'm like, yeah, you can book a squash on a big show. That's absolutely. And like I've said, squashes are valuable. And Kofi's the type of guy that can bump and sell for a guy like that. So it worked. I thought it worked anyway. Especially with the title match coming up. It's they want to paint the picture that Seth Rollins is going to die. And they showed that Lesnar can beat up 3 people. So that was a good story point to make. And on Raw this week, he beat up J&J Security pretty easily. So it's like, yeah, Rollins looks like he's dead man walking. So it was important to tell that part of the story and to make that a big story point. But, so yeah, I enjoyed that. Moving right along, we got the NXT title match, the true main event of the show. Not the closing main event, but the true main event of the show. Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens for the NXT title, which was absolutely superb. Great, great match. Loved it. I thought bringing out the Demon Balor gave this match a different flavor from the match they had back in March. It was the week of WrestleMania. So yeah, the match they had back in March. It had a big fight feel to it. Obviously, having an NXT match in a different setting paints a different picture, tells a different story, gives it a different flavor. And I was actually really excited to hear that the next Takeover special is going to be on the road, so that's going to be really awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. But yeah, I thought Balor and Owens went out there and just had a hell of a match. Just really, really great match. Despite the fact that every match on the show had... So, by the way, Kyle Enjoys Wrestling, great comment on my last video. He said that after watching his show and watching my last video about overusing moves in wrestling, he realized, man, every match on this show except for the Brock match had a super kick in it. And it's like, well, yeah, it is the most overused move in wrestling, so there you go. But all of that aside, that nitpicking aside, I thought Balor and Owens had a terrific match. I loved it. And what really put it on over the top and really made it stand out and really made it spectacular, Finn Balor won the NXT title, which was actually a nice surprise, especially after they built him up so well on TV. With those video packages and the documentary thing that they did and the interviews and the vignettes and all of that other stuff. They built him up so well. I'm like, man, it'd be really nice if he won. And he did. And it was cool. And it was awesome. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I'm really glad I woke up to watch this now. That's pretty awesome. Wow, that was really satisfying. What a really, really satisfying closing point to the show. Oh, wait, it wasn't the main event. The main event was John Cena and Dolph Ziggler versus King Barrett and Kane in a tag match. Why was that the closer? Okay, if this was the second match on the show, I would have been like, okay, it's a bit random because none of those guys are really feuding with each other or anything, but, okay, it's the second match on the show, it's a nice cool down after a hot opener, fine, whatever, and it's not like they were botching all over the place and it was a terrible match or anything, so, alright, would have been a nice cool-down match, right? Perfectly fine filler or whatever. But no, it was the main event. It was such a weak sauce way to close the show, especially after you had that big match with that big title change, that stupendous, great main event. This just felt like a Coliseum video, tack-on bonus match exclusive. For those of you who don't know what I'm referencing, back in the old days, in the VHS days, back in my day, they used to release the In Your House events on VHS, and they would throw bonus matches on there. And these bonus matches were, I believe they were taped after the event went off the air. So you'd buy an In Your House event on tape, and you get the 4 or 5 matches that were on that show, and then you get bonus match, Undertaker versus so-and-so, and Bret Hart versus Jean-Pierre Lafitte or something stupid like that. And it was never anything spectacular or good. It was like, well, I guess it's cool that I'm getting extra matches, but the show's kind of over at this point, and these matches aren't really adding anything. And that's kind of what this match felt like. It's like, look, it's not that it's terrible per se. It's just that we had our big climax. The show's over. There's no real There's nothing to really get interested in here or really get attached to. And like I said, if it were the second match of the show or the midpoint of the show, I wouldn't really be knocking it all that much at all. But the fact that it was the main event just made me go, huh? And people have defended it saying, it's like, well, it's a typical house show main event. It's like, first of all, if that's a house show main event, I will never go pay to see a house show because that's a fucking waste of money. Second of all, this wasn't a fucking house show, okay? It was a special thing that they were building up on TV. It's like, check out this show. It's going to be amazing. Brock Lesnar's going to be there. The NXT title is going to be defended. And you're going to want to get up early on July 4th and watch this fucking show. And they treated it like it was, and not that it was like a WrestleMania type of thing or something, but they treated it like it was this special little thing that they were doing that they don't always do. So it felt special. It felt like something I had to go out of my way to see. So why would you close that out with a house show main event, a quote unquote house show main event? I don't understand that. It's just, I don't know, it just seemed backwards to me. And the only excuse is that, well, Cena was in the match, so he has to be the main event. And I'm like, well, if we want to talk about, like, there were times where Hogan didn't main event, you know, like Survivor Series 89, and they had Warrior main event. Although I would argue that Hogan's match on that particular event was bigger, but that's probably a bad example. But yeah, there are examples where, you know, the main star doesn't main event. There were times where Cena didn't main event a pay-per-view. What was that TLC show when Punk was champion? If Cena wasn't even on the show, and they let CM Punk, Del Rio, and I believe it was The Miz main event or something. I'm sure I can come up with better examples than that. But in any case, yeah, I did enjoy the show overall. I was glad I saw it. You got a really good opener out of it. You got a fantastic NXT title match and just a fun atmosphere overall. The only real knock on it was the kind of the snoozer of a main event that just, you know, had to follow. So it had to follow the climax of the show. It was just, I don't know, whatever. But in any case, it was a fun event. I really enjoyed it, and I was glad I watched it. So good on you, WWE. Really enjoyed that show. And then I made this point. Instead of watching Raw, I decided to check out New Japan's Dominion. And oh my God, this show was stupendous. I'm telling you, if you like Japanese wrestling and you like New Japan Pro Wrestling, I highly recommend checking out this show because it was stupendous. I mean, it might be the best wrestling show this year. I'm not kidding. It was just an outstanding show from top to bottom. Loved it, and so many great matches and so many big moments and so many climaxes and just pro wrestlers doing their best out there and putting on the best product possible. I was really impressed with it. I was really, Wrestle Kingdom 9 was very, 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 very good. This may have edged it out a little bit. I'm not sure yet. Maybe it's just me being on a high from having just seen it. But New Japan's Dominion was very, very good. And really, it made me excited for the G1 climax because now things kind of got shaken up a little bit. And I want to see who ultimately wins this tournament because it's going to be really interesting. I'm definitely going to try and watch some of it. It's starting on July 20th. I'm going to try and check out, they've listed, New Japan's listed some of the key matches that are happening at each event, and some of those I definitely want to see. I saw Togi Makabe versus AJ Styles on one of those shows. I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to watch that. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. But in any case, going over Dominion, we had the opening match. First of all, I didn't watch the pre-show 10-man tag because why bother? I've seen that match 80 billion times. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying I didn't watch it because I've already seen it 16 kajillion times. But speaking of seeing things 16 kajillion times, the opening match was for the IWGP Junior Tag Team Championship. It was a three-way match. The Young Bucks versus Red Dragon versus Roppongi Vice. I swear to God, I've seen that match at least 3 times. At least. It just feels like it's going to be this endless cycle of Young Bucks, Red Dragon, and Roppongi Vice. Maybe the time splitters when Alex Shelley gets back. He'll get cycled in there at some point, but no, because Kushida is off in singles now. But yeah, they need to get some fresh teams in there because I'm just seeing the same matches over and over and over again. And it doesn't help that the Young Bucks just push all my buttons like that go against tag team psychology and everything. But for what it was, it's exactly what you would expect it to be. It looked the same as every other three-way tag you've ever seen. It's just bodies bouncing all over the place. It was action-packed. It's exciting and fun, even if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, whatever. It was a fine opener for what it was. Young Bucks retained the titles. I would have preferred it go to Red Dragon, but, that's just me. Second match, you got Hanma and Naito versus members of the Bullet Club, Bad Luck Fale and Takahashi. I really like this. This was a much better match than I expected because on paper it looked like a filler, but it had this story going on with Naito turning heel and being this disinterested jerk that left Hanma hanging and was acting like a cocky prick the whole time and just being an asshole. And I was like, man, what a dick. And it really helped because Hanma is such a beloved guy with the New Japan audience that him like being dismissive and just being a jerk towards Hanma, it really got the crowd going. They were booing Naito like crazy. I was like, man, this is okay. We got some character development here. Maybe we set up a feud for the future because Hanma needs to do something. The guy is too funny and too weird and too charismatic to always be put in filler tag matches. They've got to do something with the guy. He's too good not to be used. He's so much fun and he's so much fun to watch. So I hope this eventually transitions into a full blown Naito heel turn and Hanma and them feuding, and you can probably get something out of that. So fingers crossed. Let's see. Hanma ended up getting the win, and Naito walked off before their hands could be raised because he's a jerk. So there was that. But yeah, I got more out of that match than I would have expected. So that was cool. Really enjoyed that. Next, we got Shibata versus Sakuraba, teacher versus student. Actually, the way I had it, scratch that, reverse it, student versus teacher. I really enjoyed this match, too. Some people are saying this match stole the show. I don't know about that, because there were a lot of great matches on this show, but it was this really good, well-done, kind of faux mixed martial arts type of thing, kind of like Sakuraba and Suzuki from Wrestle Kingdom 9. It had kind of that element to it where a lot of the counters were really good and a lot of the hard-hitting strikes were really good. And actually, there was one point, and this is why I like rules in pro wrestling, and I like that they make the rules matter. Perfect example right here. Sakuraba had a rear naked choke on Shibata, and Shibata's trying to get to the ropes, touch the ropes to get the rope break, and Shibata turns it into like a bow and arrow where he holds both arms back and keeps Shibata from getting to the ropes. It was like, oh my god, he's fucked. He can't get to the ropes. And then Shibata manages to walk over and bite the middle rope to get the rope break. And I'm like, just taking advantage of the rope break rule and making that rule matter in some way, shape, or form provides proper context, makes your story more interesting, and makes the match more exciting. I'm just saying, it's the little things. The little things add up in a big way. It's those little intricacies that make matches mean so much more. I really enjoyed this match. Shibata got the win after a pretty killer Shining Wizard, and it was just a well-worked, well-wrestled match. I just really enjoyed it. Just hard-hitting mixed martial arts. Again, faux mixed martial arts, but still very good and very exciting, and just an awesome match. I just really, really loved it. Really, really loved it. Next up, we had the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship as Kushida challenged Kenny Omega. Great match. Awesome match for the most part. My only real knock on it is that Kushida spent most of the match selling a leg injury and sold it like a champ, to the point where he was like, it sounded like he was just crying out in pain like a dog waiting for somebody to put him out of his misery. And he was just in so much pain. But then by the end of the match, he was kind of forgetting to sell it or something at key points where it would have made sense to sell it. And that takes away from the match a little bit. But other than that, I thought it was a very exciting match. When he was selling the leg injury, it was done very well. Kenny Omega having the arm as his big Achilles heel ultimately cost him in the end, and that gave Kushida a target to go after. And it was just a very, very good junior heavyweight title match, and probably the best match I ever saw Kenny Omega have. Very good. And I like Kenny Omega, but that was probably my favorite match I've ever seen him have. And it was a great match, and Kushida won the title, which was so satisfying after that amazing match he had with Kyle O'Reilly to win the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. It was very satisfying that he won the belt. Because after that match, I was like, man, I'm going to be really disappointed if Kushida doesn't win the title, because, man, that match was amazing. And sure enough, he follows it up with a satisfying title win. So, yeah, great stuff. Really enjoyable title match. And next up after that, I believe, was the Never Openweight Championship match between Togi Makabe and Tomohiro Ishii. Now, anybody who's watched any of my New Japan reviews, I loved their match at Wrestle Kingdom 9. I thought it was the second best match on the show behind Tanahashi and Okada. I loved their match in April, which main evented that Wrestling Dontaku? Was that Dontaku or Hinokuni? I don't remember. But whatever it was, I loved their second match as well. This one was probably their weakest one, but still very good. Just a hard-hitting slugfest, as you would expect out of these two. I love Makabe. I don't know if I've made that point clear, but I love watching that guy work. He's just so mean and nasty and just so rough and just bruiser and just awesome. And I'm trying to make up adjectives to describe him. It's like, man, that guy's like super cool and stuff, and I really like him. And, it was nice that they got a trilogy out of this and they spaced it out over the course of 6 months as opposed to, the way WWE does things where, John Cena and Kevin Owens started their feud. They're already having their third match and kind of shooting themselves in the foot in terms of how much they can actually get out of this. So, yeah, we got the trilogy. I hope it's done because there were a lot of things on this show. I kind of like, the junior tag team titles. I'm kind of like, okay, can we move on from Bucks and Red Dragon and Roppongi Vice and find some new teams to cycle in and out of there? It's like, okay, Kenny Omega, it was time for him to drop the title. I'm glad that's over. Now Kushida's won, and that's great. And I'll talk about some of those other things going forward. But here it's like, all right, we got 3 matches. I'm good. I'm completely fine with Makabe and Ishii. Let it be done and just let Makabe move on to somebody else. And I like that he won all 3 matches because he's better. I mean, that's just how it is because everything has to balance out 50-50. And I was like, no, he's just better than Ishii. That's just how it is. And that point's been made at this juncture, so I don't think there's any reason to continue the story. But yeah, we got a hard-hitting slugfest out of these two. Ishii had a bad fall early on. It looks like he may have re-injured his shoulder. I don't know if he was just selling really well or if it was just a bad fall or whatever. But that kind of took the wind out of the sails for some of the match. But other than that, it's the type of stuff I love seeing out of these two. And it was just a bruiser, brawling type of affair and just great stuff. Really loved it. So yeah, that's another match on the show that I really, really had just a fun time watching. Great stuff there. Then we got the IWGP Tag Team Championship. Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson of the Bullet Club challenging Matt Taven and Michael Bennett of the Kingdom, with Maria Kanellis in the Kingdom's corner and Amber Gallows in the Bullet Club's corner. This is another feud. I feel like I've seen this match 100 times, so I hope that this is the end of it. It's like, yeah, you've done some fun stuff, but it's, I think we're done. We're past this, and it's time to move on to something else. Get some new teams in there and cycle some guys in and out and kind of freshen up the tag division. I thought the match was fun. It turned into a 3-ring circus once the girls got involved. I mean, once Maria and Amber started throwing each other in the ring and doing spots, and Maria got super kicked, which the camera missed, actually, which was disappointing because that's like the big moment of the match. Actually, the camera missed it, which is kind of sad. But it was a very kind of a 3-ring circus type of match, and it was enjoyable for what it was. I'm glad the Bullet Club won. Hopefully they can just move on to something else after this. It was fun. They won the belts back, and I think we're good, and we can move on to something else. So, yeah, that was probably the weakest match on the show, but, whatever. It wasn't terrible. Then we got Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Toru Yano in the closer to their feud, another storyline I'm kind of hoping is wrapping up. I felt like, again, I've made this point before, I felt like this feud would have been much better if they didn't have 80 billion tag matches at all the shows in between their first match at the New Japan Cup and their match at this event. I felt like the feud would have been a lot better received if they didn't wrestle each other in so many tag matches in between. But for what it was, I thought this match was a hoot, too. I thought this was a very entertaining match. I think people are kind of underselling it. Some of the reviews I've read are kind of underselling how much fun this match was. I thought I had a ton of fun with it. I thought it was a riot. You had Yano pulling out all of his old cheating, dirty tactics and stuff, and Tanahashi trying to match him and cheat with him every step of the way. And sometimes it blew up in his face, and other times it worked, and all sorts of weird stuff like that. So, of course, there were various points in this match where I'm sitting there like, all right, they're using a chair. Why is nobody getting disqualified? But it seems like, in New Japan, they don't usually. They're very liberal with the rules over there, and not a whole lot of DQs get called. At least it seems that way, but whatever. But yeah, I did think the match was fun to watch. I thought it was just it was one of those matches I got more out of it than I expected to. So I was entertained, and I thought it was fun. Tanahashi got the win, which I don't have a problem with, because I think if you look at the I mean, who's the better talent, Tanahashi or Yano at this point? But yeah, I really enjoyed this match. It was fun. It was just a nice bonkers three-ring circus type of match. I was completely fine with it. Then we got the Intercontinental title match. Hiroki Goto defending it against Shinsuke Nakamura, who came out dressed as a ninja, which was awesome. That looked cool. He reminded me of Jinx from G.I. Joe. It was pretty cool. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch G.I. Joe the movie. Not the live-action movie, the original animated movie with that kick-ass... Okay, July 4th. Best thing you can watch on July 4th, the intro to G.I. Joe the movie. Go watch that. It's on YouTube somewhere, I guarantee you. And then go thank yourself because you just saw the greatest thing ever. Anyway, we got this match, Nakamura versus Goto, and I thought they had an outstanding match. I thought this match was great. I thought it was better than the first match they had back in May. And I thought it was just a great match for the Intercontinental title and the type of match that you expect Nakamura to have. But these two feel like, even though personality-wise they're very different, physically... they're very much alike, it seems, and we're able to hit each other with very similar moves and stuff, and led to a lot of great counters and great strikes and all sorts of stuff. That ending sequence got really, really good. I mean, when Goto caught the Bomaye and turned it into a suplex, I was like, man, that was really cool. That was really awesome, but... yeah, just a great action-packed match with a shocking ending because I was like, are they going to let Goto go over Nakamura twice in a row? And they did. I was like, wow. Because when Goto beat him for the title, I was shocked, and now I'm like, oh my god, they're serious about this. Wow, okay. I wonder what Nakamura is going to be doing after this, and maybe he's frees him up to go after the IWGP World Heavyweight title. I don't know. G1 Climax coming up. Plenty of things they could do. I mean, there's a lot of things they can do with the G1 Climax. Who knows? I mean, it's a lot of doors wide open. I'm kind of open to Ibushi winning it, which would be cool, just to kind of give him a payoff to. His story from Wrestle Kingdom 9, where he was basically made a star in defeat against Nakamura, and I think him winning the G1 Climax would be a good way to kind of pay that off and do something with it. But again, we'll see. I mean, we got a long way to go before the G1 Climax is decided. But moving forward, we've got the main event of this show, Kazuchika Okada, the Rainmaker, challenging the phenomenal AJ Styles for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, and it was fucking awesome. There's nothing else to say. This match was just fucking amazing. It was on a show that had a great never openweight title match, a great IWGP Junior Heavyweight title match, that great match between Shibata and Sakuraba, a great Intercontinental title match between Goto and Nakamura. So much shit going on, so much great stuff. This match managed to beat them all and put on this outstanding main event that I can't do justice to, especially the closing minutes where AJ and Okada were just countering everybody's, just countering each other left and right. It was just this great, never-ending sequence that it was one of those matches that was so great I didn't want it to end. It was just so amazing to watch this thing unfold, and it was like, man, I don't know who's going to win. This is great. And I watched the match a day after the event, almost 2 days after the event, and managed to avoid spoilers, and I was still like reacting like I was watching it live. It was just really exciting, and I loved it, and it was great, and Okada and those drop kicks, man. I mean, he really wanted to show he's got the best drop kick in the business because he was on fire. Some of the different drop kicks he was hitting all looked great. That sequence where AJ ducked out of the Rainmaker and hit the Pele, that was great. The tombstone counters, even doing the whole bit where the Bullet Club was interfering on AJ's behalf and then the referee knocked, Red Shoes, he kicked them out and told them to suck it, which was really funny. See, when a referee does it, it's funny. But because you don't expect that. And that was great in telling the story because then it left AJ out on an island and he would have to beat Okada on his own, and he did not. Okada ultimately won the IWGP World Heavyweight title, which again is a beautiful payoff to the ending to Wrestle Kingdom 9 where Okada failed against Tanahashi and left the ring in tears because he was so heartbroken, which was one of the most human, legitimately human displays of emotion I have ever seen in pro wrestling, especially in the modern age. I mean, that was I totally believe that Okada lost a legitimate athletic competition after watching that. I was like, man, that was that was pretty rough to watch. It was pretty good, but it all comes through. He went through his slouch period. He came back, feuded with Bad Luck Fale, ultimately beat him, and then he challenged AJ and got himself back into the title picture. And he's here now. He's the champion. So yeah, I think it's great. And Okada. I know a lot of people praise Nakamura, and I know Tanahashi was the guy that was on top for so long. I think Okada might be my favorite guy of the New Japan talents, and not counting AJ, because AJ is, he's so closely linked with American wrestling that he's kind of his own thing. But as far as the guys that were made in New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think Okada is probably the best guy they've had. This is it feels like every time I watch this guy work, he does something else to impress me, and I love watching the guy. He's just great, and having him as the champion I think is very good, especially if they ultimately do go with my idea and do him versus Ibushi. But quite honestly, they could do almost anything with him, and I think it'll work. They could put him in just about any type of match, any type of situation, and I think he'll find a way to deliver, because he's been on fire all year long with some of the matches he's had. I mean, I loved his matches with Bad Luck Fale. I loved his match with Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom. His match with AJ was terrific, and AJ's been terrific all year. I mean, between this match and the match he had with Ibushi and some of the matches he's had in Ring of Honor and the match where he won the title from Tanahashi, I mean, AJ's just been on fire all year. Even the match with Naito at Wrestle Kingdom 9, which was not like the runaway match of the night or anything, but it was still very good in its own right, and just stellar work all around from both guys. And they went out there and had a killer main event that might be the best main event that New Japan's put on all year, and one of the best matches I've seen all year. So it was a nice capstone to what was an absolutely terrific event. If you are a fan of Japanese wrestling, I highly recommend checking out Dominion. It was a stellar show, one of the best shows, if not the best show I've seen all year. It was outstanding. It was terrific. Beautiful. I loved it. It was great. So that is all I have for now. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you all continue to enjoy my videos and everything. And I will probably have another one up this weekend. I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but I'll think of something. If I get lazy, I can just review the shows I saw this week, so it'll be fine. But that is all I have for now. You all continue to enjoy your week, and I will see you all later.